Okay, so it's been a few days since I've been letting this ferment. You can see here it's got a nice color, and we've got a little bit of yeast growing on the top. And that's all part of the process, all natural. Okay, so we're just going to strain some of that out. Most of it. You can see there, we've got a full jar. And I can go ahead and put more water in here, more sugar. And we can just keep going until there's no more flavor. And it's really simple to make. It's really delicious to eat, or drink, I mean. And it's a great way to extend the life of your limes. If you notice they're starting to get old or, not fresh, and you want to not let them rot or go to waste, and you don't have plans to use them in one of the ways, you can just make soda with it. Just basically what that is. It's a lime bag. You ferment it in water with sugar, and you make basically a healthy soda. Or pop, if that's what you call it. But over here in Maine, we call it soda. Anyway, it's all natural, healthy, a great way to reduce waste, and I highly encourage you trying it out. Okay, so the thing I want to mention is, you saw that I left a little bit left on the bottom here that had the culture in it, and you can see that the yeast on top. So we still have that in the liquid. I've filled it up with fresh water. Still have the fruit here, and I probably can let this go for another week or so and still get plenty of flavor out of that. And I have powdered sugar. This is what I've got on hand, and it's sort of like the leftover from Christmas. So I'm just going to dump it in. If you don't know about me, I tend to only buy sugar during the holidays or birthday, and I really don't buy that much of it. In between, I do buy natural sugars for, putting over oatmeal, like honey or molasses to add to coffee or hot cocoa. Or, what is it called? Maple syrup for breakfast and stuff. But I really am not buying a ton of other sugars. Whatever sugar I have on hand is just what I sort of stretch and use in between various holidays. And if I completely run out and I need anything at all, usually I just get a small amount. We don't use a ton of sugar, but this year is a great way to use up the leftover sugar from Christmas that we don't really do a lot of. Shouldn't be using Walmart brand. It should be organic. But if you are just on a tight budget and still trying to be healthy, you can still do it in various ways by fermenting it. I always do advise organic if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, just get what you can afford. Alrighty, so I hope this gives you ideas how to stretch your limes or your other fruit. A lot of people will tell you to take the fruit out and don't ferment with the fruit, but the fruit gives it flavor. You could do this with tea, ferment the tea, and then add the fruit in for a day or so after and stick it in the fridge after it ferments a little bit. But if you're literally just trying to infuse your water and ferment that flavor, you've got this here too. So, I have a few other ferments going on right now. This is my son's apple cider vinegar. That's apples. And then here is my kombucha that I have not made in ages, but you can see I've got a little bit of something growing here. A little bit of a SCOBY. So those are very exciting and interesting. I like doing this stuff a lot. Alrighty, thank you for watching. This is not part of today's show or video, but I will be talking more about this later as a kefir. Alrighty, bye-bye, have a great day. Hello. So I've been looking at my fermentation drink that I make. They're like probiotic drinks, and so like when I'm doing my housework in the morning, I will stop and look at things throughout the day, or right after the housework is done, I clean off the counter, and then I go and look at all I have going on in front of me, because I have all my fermentations out on the counter. And I wanted to go over a few things concerning fermented drink, or the probiotic drink that I was working on, and I forgot a couple things that I should have said the first time I was recording, and I wanted to make sure to talk about them now, and I'm probably going to combine them into one video so that they're together. It'll be less confusing that way. Alrighty, so this is my fermentation counter space. So I've got like sourdough here and my probiotic drinks and other various things I work on. So I took the cover off here, and I just did all it is, just a mesh cover that slides into this. And I went to check up on my kombucha, and as you can see, you have a thin layer of a SCOBY on top. See that? Now, I washed my hands before doing this because you don't want to mix any germs into your drinks. You want only the good bacteria, which is, the SCOBY bacteria is a symbiotic colony of yeast and of bacteria and yeast, basically. I have such a hard time saying it out loud when I'm not reading it. But anyway, so this here is your SCOBY along the top. This is completely, it grew from small pieces that I had thrown into this. Now, if you look over here, I have my apple cider vinegar going on. And on the top, you see this thin membrane, and that's actually growing on top. So these apples are going to be spent soon, and I got something in my way I'm going to show you. But the apples need to be probably thrown out. I don't really see any more bubbling going on in here. If it stopped bubbling, that means it's no longer feeding. So once that stops, you know that your vinegar is done, and it can't extract any more juices and sugar and anything from your apples. The apples is the sugar, and I also do add apples inside, not apples, but I add sugar to the liquid while it's warm. Speaking of that, sorry, I tried to clean this entire area for the video, but I think I missed a couple spots. But this is my setup. All right, so this is the jar, and I made green tea. And so what happens is you pour it out here. And then I will use that liquid once it cools down in your jar. I'm going to take out the liquids. This here is, which one is it? One of them is lime. This is not lime. This is the lime. And then I have this one with the tea, which is SCOBY fermented tea, okay? I feel like I want to try mixing these two together to make a delicious lime-flavored tea drink. And this here is my Stan's apple cider vinegar. Now, this morning when I looked at it, there was a layer on top that had just a little bit of blue growth on top, which is blue mold. Everything underneath is good, but what was growing on top was not, so I took that SCOBY out. It had a SCOBY, but the SCOBY itself was not healthy, so I took it out and threw it out. And you can see that line. This line is where the SCOBY was growing. Now, my son and I did take a tiny little taste, and that's why it's not so full anymore. We wanted to see what it tasted like. Alright, so be careful about drinking out of these because you don't want the germs from your mouth or anything getting into it. It will also affect your fermentation. So the next step here is to get some sugar in here and mix it together. Alrighty, so I got the sugar, and it's basically just powdered sugar that I have on hand. So once Christmas is over and fall is over, all of our seasonal baking is done. So I really don't need to bake or use this with anything. I'm finishing up using it up in here. So it's helpful and useful for me. This is about 1/3 of a cup. I believe I've done 1/4 of a cup in the past. Just because it's a smaller size, it's not a half gallon, it's not a full gallon, it's just this little quart size jar. That seems to be enough from my guess. I did not look it up. I just sort of guesstimate it and see how it works for me. flavor-wise, when I tested them in the past here, from the recent ones that I did here, they tasted pretty good with that measurement for 1/4 cup for about a quart measurement jar. Okay, so yes, I'm making a mess, but I'm also not trying to be the world's most famous TV show either. This is just my house and what I'm working on. All right, so before I pour this into my empty jar, or it's going to not be empty, but it's going to have like this much at the bottom, you want your live culture in there, but you do not want to pour hot or warm, super warm water into your culture. You're going to kill the SCOBY, you're going to kill the live bacteria. Wait for this to cool before you transfer into your jar. Now, when it comes to dealing with your SCOBY, make sure your hands are washed and clean. I did that before I got started. You can use a spoon, you can use your fingers, whatever you prefer. I am the type where I worry less about germs. As long as my hands are clean, I am fine. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to use a spoon. Basically, it does sticks to the edges. It's kind of like adheres or sticky or whatever to the edges of the jar. And you want to be sure you scrape it off, because if you don't, you might rip your SCOBY. And, you know, in the beginning stages, it's very, very sensitive, very delicate. Alright, so that's my SCOBY. That's a living organism that is feeding off the sugar. Alrighty, so that can be transferred into your jar. It doesn't have to be perfect. It'll it'll relocate itself to be positioned across the top. And I'm in the mood to try half regular tea with half of the lime fermented tea. I just feel like it would taste really good together. Let's see. Yes, that is good. Alright, so I did half lime and half kombucha tea, fermented tea, and it's quite good. Now with kombucha, it's meant to be like a tonic. It's meant to be like probiotics, right? So when you're eating probiotics, it's good for your stomach, but it also makes you poop. There's no easy way around it. That's what happens, okay? So when you're starting out with kombucha, get yourself a shot glass, or simply pour out a very small amount, like this much or less. This is 1/3 of a cup. You could go with 1/4 of a cup, I guess you could say, measurement wise, and work yourself up to more. You don't want to overdo, or you're going to be running to the toilet feeling like you have diarrhea, but you don't. This is your body cleansing itself, right? It's pushing out all the junk, and it's giving you your probiotics, which is making your stomach happier and healthier, your intestines healthier. So this is why I make this sort of drink. I'm not fermenting for the sake of getting drunk or to have a high. It can give you a high if you drink a lot at one time. But really the purpose of this is to give yourself health drinks, shots, like health benefits, okay? So yes, you can joke all day long about how it can make you all woozy and feel half drunk, but the whole purpose of me showing you how to make this is about medicine, right? Natural medicine. So our food has natural medicine, and in moderation, it can be very healthy for you. When you overdo, yes, you're gonna get that effect. Certainly hope that you don't want to go too wild with it. We kind of feel like, but it's the main purpose here is this is natural medicine.